I'm Christine Murray. I go by Christy. I'm the Associate Dean and Managing Director of Career Services at Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business. I started August 1st, and I've been in the higher education space for the last 15 years. Prior to that, had a corporate career, so have a good mix of knowing what the business world is combined with the higher education space and supporting students. Amazing group of students. I've now had the chance to get to know them as alumni. So the full-time MBA cohort class of 2022 had 247 students. 32% of the class identified as women. 28% of the class identified as international, and we had representation from 37 different countries. And of the domestic students, 19% were an underrepresented minority, or URM. So I think transparency is important for employment reports out of business schools to allow prospective students to really understand what that looks like with a career outcome in mind as they're thinking about programs and trying to identify what the best school is for them. Every school has a little bit different flair, and we think that the employment report helps a business student or a prospective business student really identify what the ROI will be for them. I think that students should pay attention to the strengths of each program, where the school is dedicating resources, as well as students who are interested in the road less traveled. So we hope in our employment report, students saw in our example that we have many students doing Fortune 500 companies post-graduation, but then there are a lot of impact opportunities that we see in the social impact space, as well as governmental fellowships. And then we have a great venture fellows program. So a little bit of variety is reflected in the report, and I think we see that reflected in our class as well. I think it's also a good way to really celebrate and recognize the amazing work that the graduates do during their 2-year stint at McDonough in the MBA program. You know, it's a way for us to recognize and celebrate their successes. It's so hard because there are so many successes, but I think when we think about highlighting some of the things that we've noticed from patterns, that we had an average base salary, or these graduates had an average base salary of $138,552, and then an average signing bonus of $36,342, which is the highest ever level that has been achieved by the full-time MBA population at the McDonough School of Business. It was up 10% and 6% respectively from last year, and a total of 96% of students received a job offer within 3 months of graduation. We had 95% accept their offers within that time frame, and that also tied the all-time high set by last year's class. I think for both the full-time and the internship opportunities, McDonough students have tapped into school resources. They network, and this is evident with the 88% of the population securing opportunities that were facilitated by the school and the school's connections. I think among the first-year students seeking internships, we had 100% who were seeking that secured an opportunity for summer between year 1 and year 2. And the average monthly compensation for internships was $9,540, which was up 28% from last year. So those are some hard and fast numbers. There are a lot of successes within that, but I think when we look at the highlights, that definitely is representative of some of them. I think that COVID-19 disrupted the global recruitment for MBA graduates, and we've seen a really strong recovery in hiring in 2022 and continuing into this fall, quite honestly. I think Georgetown has a large global presence in its graduate program. In the full-time MBA, 28% of the cohort was international and represented the 37 countries across the world. So regarding outcomes, we just are really pleased with what we've seen given the disruption. I think our international students, you'll see in this report, fared just as well, if not better than our domestic students. I think that that's a testament to just the really strong international global students that are coming into this program. The average salary of international students was $143,939, and then the domestic salary was $136,991. So a slight tip there to the international students with average base salary. And then the average signing bonus was a little bit higher for international, $45,403, and the domestic students had an average signing bonus of $33,294. So international and domestic students alike both received offers within 3 months of graduation at 96%. So we definitely see consulting being a top interest of students at Georgetown McDonough. I think this is really across any business school program, right? Consulting is always an interest, but we see that in the numbers. So of the class of 2022, 29% of the students were going into consulting industries upon graduation, which was the top percentage for this particular class. We also see a large number going into financial services. So 25% of our class of 2022 graduates went into financial services, and then technology is always a top interest, and 18% of the class of 2022 went into technology. Because of our location and because of our values, we see a large number also pursuing social impact, nonprofit, governmental careers, but not at a percentage that you would find really high because of that. So 7% of the class pursued those careers afterwards. So really the top three are consulting, financial services, and technology in terms of industries. We also have consumer goods at 7% for this class. So those are our top areas from this past graduating class. Absolutely. So we have an amazing Center for Entrepreneurship that students are able to tap into, especially in the full-time MBA program. There's a Venture Fellows program, and this year we're especially excited to launch a new program out of that center. So I think that students who are interested in entrepreneurship will find that they have a lot of resources there. It's a smaller number, but it's still a pretty mighty group of people, and there are terrific resources to back that up. I think the other outlier is healthcare. So we have a good handful, 4%, I think, of students going into healthcare business careers after graduating from the full-time class. And there are plenty of healthcare opportunities and intersections with healthcare across the opportunities our graduates have as well. So interestingly, in the consulting space, we've seen top strategy and M&A consulting firms really becoming more and more popular with our population. I think the McKinsey, Bain, BCG levels have increased. I know I've seen data to this effect, and students really like where they can employ fast-paced, dynamic problem-solving skills to have a really good, large, tangible impact on people, business, and the greater world around them. And I think that the relationship that we have seen with the MBB firms have improved over the last several years with the outcomes that we've seen from those firms. We also have an amazing partnership with EY. They were just on campus last week doing a number of coffee chats, information sessions through their recruitment process, and some interviews on Friday. So we've had really good relationships there. Amazon has been our top hiring company over the past year for both internship and full-time hires. And as we've seen in the news, there's cooling happening in the technology sector. However, what we will say is so far this fall, we have seen the summer internship hiring remaining really solid, which is great because that means that tech companies such as Amazon are still looking at bringing in campus talent or from the MBA program into those summer opportunities, which often convert into full-time roles. I would say investment banking is continuing to be a top target area, really good relationships in that space. And then in the consumer product space, we have good relationships with companies such as Nestle, Estee Lauder, Procter & Gamble, and American Airlines, UPS, those are organizations that have also been on campus this fall. Our top employers would be Amazon, Boston Consulting Group, Capital One, Citigroup, EY, Goldman Sachs, IBM, LEK Consulting, Microsoft, PwC, and ZS Associates. I think what we tend to see is that because of when you think geography of consulting, finance, and technology being about 75% of where our students are going after graduation, and you think about the proximity of those companies and where they're based, there's a pretty large presence in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast area. And so I think that when companies are looking at recruiting talent out of MBA programs, they are looking globally and across the United States, but sometimes because of the strength of that area with students coming in and where the output is, a lot of students might decide, even though they're from the West Coast, they want to stay on the East Coast. So some global multinational companies will ask for top 3 preferences from a candidate who is going to take a full-time opportunity. So candidates have some optionality there that they also weigh in. But we do have a large West Coast contingent, I think, of our alumni population. And so I think it's a little bit of an art and a little bit of a science. I don't think there's a magic formula there. We saw with this particular class 43% of the full-time acceptances coming from internship conversions from their previous summer, which is in line with what we typically see in the 40% of the class. I would say a lot more students get return offers than we often see reflected in this number. Some students decide that the opportunity might not just be the right fit for them, and they decide to re-recruit. And over the last few years, given the really strength of the full-time pipeline of recruitment options these students have, they have choices. And so we empower them to identify what really fits best with their career aspirations and goals post-MBA, and to decide if that summer internship offer is the best offer for them to accept or if they want to go a different direction. So 43% of the class accepted this past summer. There is a mentoring program that is available to all of our full-time MBA students, and the students have the ability to opt into it. And so we have 200 volunteer alumni mentors who have signed up for the program. So we actually have more alumni interests and availability than we have students who are opting in to the mentoring program. So this fall, the mentoring application opened up 200 alumni mentors, and we had about 150 MBA students who decided they wanted to take advantage of this formal program. What I would say is that there is both informal and formal mentoring. So some students might already have a bench of mentors that they are really comfortable with, and they choose to go a different direction. Some folks might decide that they want to organically find that mentor through either the McDonough student community, faculty or staff community, or alumni community, and they may have already connected with someone who is an alum that they're meeting with frequently that's not part of this formal program. I would say a couple of things that I've noticed, obviously coming in from a different perspective and being aware of what makes McDonough unique and unusual. I think there's a line that you hear often across the community, Hoyas helping Hoyas. And really it is indicating that students or alumni are helping fellow students and other alumni. And I've seen this in action with the student organizations, the clubs. They are integral in helping to support their peers. And I think that there's always a healthy competition in MBA programs. But I think what is really unique to the McDonough community is that these second-year MBAs are committed to helping the first-year MBAs, to educating them about their experiences as a first-year MBA student, what their path was getting to that point, and then what they learned over the summer experience, and then how they can help the first year students with their advice and mentoring to navigate their experiences as they're pioneering through their first year of the MBA program. I think the alumni community is visible, present, both in person and in the Zoom rooms, through all of the activities I have seen held on campus through student organizations and the recruitment process this fall. And I think that that is unique. I think a lot of employers have that alumni ambassadorship within companies. And I think the McDonough alumni community is pretty special, and that they're committed and dedicated and really advocating within their organizations for what is helpful to the students post MBA. So those are a few things that have stood out to me in my tenure at Georgetown. One of the things that is in the report that is notable is that every student has to identify when they graduate what is the number one thing that was helpful to them in getting their or securing their post MBA opportunity. And we had 88% of the class of 2022 say that it was facilitated by the career resources at McDonough, which was up 10% from last year and is a really good number, I think, across the industry. I think that it reflects the dedication of the team and the commitment and the experience that the MBA support team brings to the students. We have industry practice leaders who are working with MBA students and working with employers to create those opportunities for connection. And also they reflect coaches that come from the industry. So these are team members who have worked in consulting and banking and technology and social impact and consumer products organizations. So it's pretty great to see that not only do we have people who are in those coaching roles that bring that expertise and industry knowledge to the team, but they're also committed to the student success. So they are really wanting to make sure that the students are set up for success as they're preparing for interviews, as they're navigating decision making and thinking about competing offers and timelines based on the opportunities they're looking at. So the strength of the team coupled with the student orientation, wanting to make sure that they're successful, is a good partnership. My top tip is to really have prospective MBA students start to really identify how they would respond to the question, tell me about yourself. Because as that question is so simply, it sounds very simple, right? Tell me about yourself. But there's quite a bit of complexity behind it, especially as they're thinking about how do they represent themselves in a concise way to a future employer for an internship opportunity or full-time opportunity, or if they're at a networking event with alumni or high-level influencers that they're trying to make a good impression with. That question is one that comes up quite a bit, and it can be well done, or it can be done in a way that doesn't leave a lasting impression. And we want our MBA students to be able to leave a lasting impression with their answers to that very simple question.